Excellent. Hi. Yeah, that was a very good pronunciation. I am very impressed. My coaching abilities have worked. Nice. So Spanish names have this thing where most of the words have the stress on the last syllable. So it was like coaching Mark with like ta 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 ta. That's how you say my name, and it actually worked. So that's really great. I'm going to use it all the time. So yeah, I'm Soledad Penadés. I'm Spanish. I work in London. So I'm not too jet-lagged because I was in Singapore last week. But before I continue, there are moving images and loops and maybe awful sound feedback here. So if you have tinnitus, if you get sick with these kind of things, please leave now. I'm very sorry. But sometimes live audio and video is unpredictable. So I don't want anyone to feel unwell. So you've been warned. If you leave now, I won't be feeling upset about that. So I work at Mozilla. I found this GIF in this place called GIF Cities. There are amazing things in this website. And actually, the reason why it's so sharp and anti-aliased is because I'm using a CSS property to interpolate. The original GIF is very, very small. So I'm an engineering manager at Firefox DevTools. So I'm making DevTools better. And what I really like is making video and audio stuff. So I have this website where I have all sorts of cool things I do. And I did this thing some years ago, and it's basically about using your camera to make GIFs, which you might kind of recognize because it's kind of extracted from the code of MadeSpaces. So this is the kind of things I like. So when I heard that you could do the same thing with Media Recorder, I'm like, oh, I'm going to totally take that as my default thing. So I've been researching this thing for about a year. Last year, about this time, someone from the WebRTC team in Firefox approached our team, the DevRel team, which was my team back then, and said, hey, we have this new API. You might be interested in maybe trying it out and making a demo or something. And I was like, oh, I can finally capture what I'm doing in the browser, so that's super cool. And so we started playing with that with my colleague Belen. And we found so many bugs. We also found that we didn't find documentation because there wasn't any. So we had to write it ourselves and dig into things. So after a whole year of finding many bugs, crashing the browser many, many times, and all that, we are finally ready to talk about this kind of alchemy. The whole title is very long. So streams, it's not these streams. You can join these streams. You can actually join them. And it's not these streams either. By the way, this is a great movie. I just watched that in the plane here, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So not those streams, and not Node.js streams, and not feature JavaScript streams either, but MediaStream instances. And you might be like, how many streams can we have? So it's track containers. Media streams are track containers, and probably that doesn't tell you anything, but tracks can be audio or video. So if you imagine a DVD can have several tracks of audio, and in theory, several tracks of video, so you can change between its scenes, which never happens because producers just gave up on the idea. But that's the whole idea of DVDs, and in general, streams of media, is that you can have various tracks of things. So you can have any number of tracks per stream. That was the premise that we got sold the DVDs based on. And you might actually have used media streams already if you've used getUserMedia. Who hasn't used? I mean, someone has used. Please raise your hand if you used it. OK, at least one person was aware of what was going on. Everyone else was in a cave for the last 5 years, I guess. So with getUserMedia, you use navigator.media devices. It used to be somewhere else, but it's been moved to be under media devices, so it's not polluting all the global namespace. So you call media devices.getUserMedia and say audio, true, video, true. And eventually, once the user has been asked for permissions and everything, you get a stream with audio and video, hopefully. And then you do something with it. So the usual thing that people do is just show an image on the screen, which is cool, because back in the days, we had to install Flash and all those things, so we could display audio and video, and you could actually, if I connected the audio, you could listen to me, and it would feedback terribly. OK, so in theory, it should be displaying. I don't know what's going on here, but fine. So this is boring. This is all news. Seriously, only he knows about that. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're very bored, right? You didn't come here to really hear boring stuff. You came here to the cool things. So what's even cool? The new cool thing is Media Recorder with this API I'm going to talk to you about today. it's native. I don't know why this is like earthing. It's not good. So it's a native JavaScript API, which means that it's built in your browser. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to npm install. It's built in. And also, it's very familiar. If you've used the DOM and like add event listener and that kind of things, you already know how it works. So it's great because you don't need to learn a new paradigm. So that's super cool. So in a nutshell, what you do is you have a new constructor, which is new media recorder, and you pass it one of those streams that you can get from the webcam. And you have methods, which are like very familiar and similar to like using a recorder, which is like start and stop and pause and resume. So like if you're from the 80s like me, you know how tape recorders work. So this is the same thing, like start, stop, pause, and resume. Except that tape recorders don't give you data available events. In this case, if you add a listener when data available happens, when you press stop, you will get a blob with data. So that's the modern thing compared to tape recorders. So we can use this to record things from the webcam. And the way you do it is you create a recorder with the stream that you got from the camera. OK, this is pretty readable, nice. You add a listener with the data available event. I'm using fat arrows, because why not? So you get this event, and it's got data, which happens to be a blob. And we want to set that to play in a video element, which is in the website already. So we need to create a URL, because the video doesn't know where the thing is. So you create a URL for this with this object that also exists in the window. This is just pure JavaScript APIs that exist on the browser. This is not a library. So you set the source to the video, and then select play. And then this is just for setting the listener. On the other side, you have to start the recorder, and then we tell it to stop recording after 5,000 milliseconds, which happens to be 5 seconds. So if I do this thing, it starts the webcam. You can't see because the LED is not in your side, but it's recording. And now this is looping, and this should be playing my audio. So this is what recorded. And because it's a video, I can do things like changing the speed and change it to ludicrous. So it's faster and things like that. The most embarrassing one is the slow one, which makes you feel like jet lag. Yeah. So yeah, I just encoded audio and video natively in the browser, and I didn't even use plugins, which when I gave the talk all the time, they told me that this was a mic drop, so I could just like go and just like be done with that. Because I should not maybe need to tell you anything else, but I'm just joking. Obviously, there is more content. So we just barely scratched the surface. This is just the beginning of what you can do, because just like recording video is fine, but it's not fun. So more sources of streams is getUserMedia, because this is very related to the WebRTC group and everything. In fact, it's the same people who are working on this. So you can share your screen or your windows, and you can record that, because you just get a stream from this. So right now, this is a bit weird. You have to whitelist the domain, because sharing your screen is a very bad idea with people on the internet. So right now, if you do this in Firefox, we're going to tell you, no, this domain is not whitelisted, unless you go to about config and add the domain there. We are going to change that in some upcoming release, where you are going to say to the user, are you really sure you want to share this with this domain? Terrible things might happen, la, 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 la. So in the future, this is going to be easier to demo. Right now, I had to add it to about config. You can't do this thing at all in Chrome, if I am correct. But basically, the only difference if you want to share screens or windows is instead of, like, you start UserMedia with getUserMedia, but instead of saying video true, you say media source, like you pass it an object. Say media source, screen, or window, whatever you want. And then you get a prompt that says, are you sure you want to do this? So like in this case, I can use this to demo 8-bit art by Chance Schiffer. And suppose you want to show someone how you're using get 8-bit art thingy. So I say, OK, I want to share this entire screen. And it's like, this is what's going to happen. Are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, OK, fine. So this thing on this side is video clips I'm recording from what I'm doing here. So I can try and draw something here. And then I could send the link to someone and be like, hey, I made a video how to record this thing. So I can open this. And I could just share that with someone. Like, this is how I did this thing. So you could you can just screen share and record that thing in JavaScript right now. You don't need to start any plugin. I don't know if you are aware of this. Like, if you've done any kind of like Hangouts, this is huge. My laptop is not taking off right now. There is no a massive battery usage to do this thing. This is very lightweight. This is great. So that was one source. You can also get a video stream out of a canvas if the browser supports this. So you have this CaptureStream method on browsers that support that. So when you call CaptureStream on a canvas, you can, this is optional, tell it how many frames per second you want to capture. And then, again, you create a new recorder using the stream that you got. And if you're into drawing pixels, this is very interesting. You get a buffer of pixels. You go through them. You add some values, la, 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 la. I'm going to skip that. And then you put it back. And then you also do record the start and stop and everything. So what I'm doing here is some kind of magic. And I'm going to generate a clip with white noise, which is going to like... And then that's a video. So imagine that you have a game, and you need a clip of white noise, because there is a TV on the game, and it needs to be showing a video of white noise. Instead of sending the video, you can generate that on your game, so you don't make the people use their bandwidth for generating a stupid clip. So that's cool, because you can get like really high resolution and not having to send the thing all down the wire. So that's really cool. And this is generating, but what we could also do is transform the webcam images with the canvas methods before capturing that. So I'm going to do this in 2 steps. First, I'll show you how to manipulate the images, which is the same. You get the context, the canvas context, and draw the video, which you got from the webcam, into the canvas. Then you get the image data from the context, which is here. So that's the pixels without being the original pixels. And then you do the same thing. You are going through every pixel, and we're applying this cutoff thing, which I can change here. So that makes me look less, or like depends how much sun I've been taking, right? So this is the cutoff thing. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just like changing pixels, not capturing happening here. This is a very simple filter. But now, if we want to capture this thing, what we need to do is call CaptureStream on the canvas that we are applying this drawing to. So some steps from before, we init the webcam, make the video stream, we copy the canvas, la, 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 alter the pixels, which is why I'm here in black and white. We also get the stream from the canvas, and eventually we call MediaRecorder with the stream and record. So I'm going to do this thing here. So this thing is now recording. The feedback of this demo is very bad, but this is me being recorded in a video, like very dark and sinister. Yeah. Actually, we did most of these demos before Halloween because we wanted to like make scary things. So that's why they have this sinister theme to all of them. So yeah, we have manipulated things and recorded them. So we can you could send these kind of things to your friends, and you could even share them in Twitter if only Twitter understood WebM, which it doesn't, because apparently they don't know how to do FFmpeg. So anyway, you should not actually use Canvas. It works because this is a very small buffer. This is very small filters. We are not getting super complicated, but what you should be using is WebGL. But WebGL takes so long. Like, just setting that up would be like half of the talk, and you don't want to, so no. So stream sources. We have a third way, which is the one that I really like, and it's called MediaStreamAudioDestinationNode, and we used to make fun of Java class names, but the problem is that it's very descriptive, but it's also very long. So what it means is a media stream for audio, and it's the destination type of node. So these kind of nodes have a .stream property, and probably you have not much idea about web audio. So what we do is choose this node in the context of a web audio context. And so we can modify and capture the audio and do all sorts of things in real time within the web audio context. And what's the web audio context? It's the door to the power of web audio. And web audio is this magic thing that lets you connect nodes that you can create, and some of them generate sound, some of them modify sound. You can route, you can split things, you can join them together. It's amazing. It's very long to explain. I've done many talks that explain these things, so if you want, you can watch them, or you can ask me questions. But basically, this is how it looks like. Like, you have this kind of graphs. And in this case, we're going to use one of those sources, which is going to be the microphone. We're going to do some effect, some magic. And then we will create one of those very long node names. and take the stream property, which is a stream, and connect that to a MIDI recorder to record this thing. So we're going to do input stream, audio context, which is the black box, which makes effects, and then we get the output stream. But that's a bit too much to take on to start with. So I will just start with the input stream. How do we make this thing into the context and then record? So we ask the microphone. We just getUserMedia with just audio equals true. And so we got a stream. And then we create an audio context, which is how you create a web audio context. It's kind of like a canvas context, but for audio. And then we create an input node, which is create MediaStream source. Compare this with source destination. So you have the source and you have the destination. One is for getting streams, and the other one is for getting streams in, and the other one for getting streams out. So we have this function called makeEffect, which makes a black box that makes sound effects, and then like the guitarist pedals. So we will connect the input node to the effect input, and we connect the effect output to the audio context destination, which happens to be mapped to the speakers. And you will see or will hear some effects, hopefully. Hi. This is the feedback I was talking about. So this is an effect. This black box is like making some kind of echoes. Cool. We want to record this. So the way we record this thing is instead of connecting the output to the destination, we will connect the output to a node which has a stream property, so we can use the stream with a MIDI recorder. So we add this MediaStreamAudioDestinationNode to the context. So we have this thing from before, and instead of connecting to AC.destination, we connect that to the output node, which is this. And then we just take the MIDI recorder and say output node.stream, which is the property we want to record, and then we just record. So I'm recording, so it says recording here. And eventually we'll stop, and I can play this. So it's been processed, it's recorded. But this time it's not feedbacking even more, because this is just the thing. So we've been able to apply effects in real time to the thing that we were doing. So if you're doing any kind of web audio thing, you could capture that and record that thing, and then you just get like an OGG file, and you can send it to your friends, which is great. And again, maybe you could share that in YouTube, but I don't know if YouTube supports OGG. Probably they do, because they're not Twitter. So we've looked at how to do video and audio, but separately. And possibly, if you're like me, you want to do everything at the same time, and the more the better. So the problem is that what we're doing so far is we always ended up with the stream from the canvas and the stream from the web audio context. But the MIDI recorder, so far as we've seen, only takes one. When you do the new MIDI recorder, it takes just one stream. So how do we join them? Because in this case, it's good to join these two streams. So how do we do this? So this was the thing that took us longer to find out, because there wasn't any demo. So they were like, oh, you can do all those sorts of good things, but no one would think of documenting this thing. So eventually, I remember that I just opened the console and started doing like new media stream. Oh, that was good. The MediaStream worked, so I couldn't make a MediaStream, which apparently you have access to the constructor, which is what we needed, because once you have access to the constructor, you can use the methods, which is get audio tracks and get video tracks and add track. So I could create a MediaStream and then just move things around and mingle things together and recombine them as I wanted. So the good thing is that MIDI recorder doesn't care. As long as you give it a stream, MIDI recorder is super happy, and it's going to be chugging along and recording and super MIDI recording. It's very obsessive of recording. So this is like a deconstruction of what we would do. So if we want to do these two things, and eventually result in just one stream, we start with the input stream, we get the video tracks, and then we do MediaStream, we add the video tracks to the MediaStream with that track, and then we manipulate with the canvas, and then eventually you get a stream from this. And it's important to separate. You would say, why do you want to take the video tracks out? And it's because if you want to manipulate video, you need to have the video playing. But you have the video playing. The problem is that the video that you're playing is also playing the sound. So if you want to manipulate the sound, you're going to be listening to the original unfiltered sound plus whatever. So it's very strange. You better have a video without any audio tracks, so you can play and then get the frames one each time. So that's why we had to separate. Because if you mute that video, you don't get any sound into the soundtracks. It's all very complicated, and it could be so easy. So then on the other side, you extract the audio tracks, pass them to your web audio context, like after adding them to the audio track thingy. And then, again, you get a MediaStream blah, blah, stream. And finally, you just create a new MediaStream and add all the tracks with all this monumental for each kind of loop. And then finally, you have all the tracks, like audio and video in the output stream and media recorder output stream. Finally, so we are done. And the question is, why is Solid so excited about this API? Well, because you can share things with your friends, but unless you give them, unless the website you're using has a proper URL kind of generation, so you can give them the URL and it reproduces exactly the same thing, they cannot reproduce the same setting. And some things you cannot really put in a URL. It has to be a very long URL. So sharing sometimes is not very easy if there's too much data you want to have. And sometimes people just can't even play the thing. If I make a thing which is very processor intensive, I cannot give them a URL to a very long thing and make them play that in their small phones without battery. So it's important to be able to record the things that we're doing in the browser. And also because, people like Matt McKeck might want to capture what he's doing natively instead of having to do workarounds and things like that. So if you want to move things to the web, we need to have a feature-complete browser. So this was one of the most important things that we needed. And this was something that we kind of implemented a bit when we had Firefox OS, so we could record messages and ringtones. So this has kind of been for a while in Firefox, but it was just kind of incomplete. You have some audio, I think Chrome had some video, but obviously if one has video and the other one has audio, it's not a very compatible API. But finally last year they got together, and Chrome and Firefox have been working really hard to get this thing to a point where it's usable. So it's important because you can finally build these kind of sophisticated apps without plugins or server-side. And it's really fast because you don't have to send uncompressed data over the network, because uncompressed data is really huge. And also because sometimes if you don't need to send the data at all, you can just encode things in the server, in the front side. So you don't even need to send whatever it is that you're recording through the wires. So you can be, actually private. And if you use service workers, you don't even need to get it up again because it's already offline. So you can record things and encode them, and you don't need to wait until you're online to get them into a shareable format. And also, I think that photography and video apps are kind of a big deal. In the Play Store, Snapchat is the 4th and the 5th app. This could be the Australian Play Store. I don't know how geographic things work. I wasn't signed in. But in the App Store, in the iOS, this is my phone. I have 29 updates to update. I just hate installing updates. Well, Snapchat is the 6th, and Instagram is the 8th. So it's really massive. And YouTube, does it count as video? Maybe. OK, YouTube is the 5th. So they're a big deal. People like taking selfies. And I don't know. I don't think anyone here is from the UK, but there is this thing they do in the TV where they show some interstitials with people that recorded their faces with selfies and Snapchat. It's terrible. I hate that. Yeah. But yeah, Snapchat is big, and people want to have fun times with their phones, but we want things to be in the web. So if we want things to be in the web, we need to give people APIs where they can do these kind of things. So what I'm saying in other ways is that you can build Instagram and Snapchat in the browser thanks to Media Recorder. So that's huge for me. But maybe we don't need another one of those. Maybe we could get more creative instead. So for example, I did get creative. I built this thing, which is kind of museum-like. So if it doesn't crash, which I think is the case, because, beta. Hi. Yeah, it's crashed. I'm sorry. It used to work really nicely. OK, let's try again. At least it didn't crash the whole thing. So let me tell you about Firefox E10S. It's the electrolysis new thing. In theory, it's designed to avoid the browser crashing completely, but I think it's taking over the whole thing. And I've even reset my computer this morning, just in case. OK, at least I could close it. Could I? Are you gone? Have I showed you my fantastic collection of memes? This is the meme says you've been mansplained. As you can see, mansplained here. OK, can you please go away? I didn't have this thing just in case, but it tends to be really useful. OK, let's try this thing again. So what I was saying is that this thing is very creative, very cool. Please show my presentation. That would be nice. Which number was that? 50. Not bad. So yeah, getting creative. Please don't crash. OK, that's better. So in theory, this is kind of like a museum kind of thing. So you can have this thing, and it starts looping. And I'm pretty sure that kids love this. And the good thing is that you can start making rhythms if you tap the microphone at the right time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how fortunate you are. But yeah, OK. So this is one of the things you could do. And then last weekend, this is all of the things you can do. It just records kind of like, I warned you that there would be glitches. Can you please stop? Yes. So. So this is, it just takes the, it just records a very short sample, and it does some kind of like, how's this thing? With file reader, you can decode the blob and bring it back into WebAudio and read it as a sample. It's a bit of a strange detour, because it should be easier, but I just wanted to prove this was possible to people in the WebAudio Hack Day last week in Singapore. So the idea being that you could just record samples and do like kind of like a beatbox or whatever. But I didn't have time, so I was just like, OK, I would just record this thing and play random volumes and frequencies. So it just takes the thing and applies kind of like pitch bending to the thing. So I found that it was funny. So some more ideas, because I have more ideas. And the reason I opened the DevTools was to invalidate the cache, because it was loading some old version. Yeah, send the report. So some more ideas. A beatbox. You could do a beatbox. You could also do sample-based music apps, which is not just like a beatbox. It's kind of like a different type of, like, you could do like long track kind of thing. If you combine it with WebMidi, which is like for controlling keyboards and all sorts of instruments, you could like trigger the samples and different notes with WebMidi. Sadly not in Firefox, but if this media recorder worked nicely with Chrome, we could do it more reliably. But anyway, so dictaphones, that is an app that we have for demoing this, which is a dictaphone, but it's kind of ugly, so maybe you can do a nicer one. You could do field recording. It's about going to places and recording the sound of this place. And you could use the geolocation API to combine everything together. There's this website called freesound.org that's got many samples. You could also do the Vine app without app, especially now that they are closing it down. You could redo this thing. If you use the pause and resume method of media recorder, you can do the same thing that Vine does. And you could do granular and glitch-based audio synthesis, which is a bit of what I was doing. Like if instead of playing the whole sample, you just play a small grain, which is a small bit, you can do very interesting effects. And it's very, let's say that it's very absorbing. You can spend hours doing that, finding the best grain and whatever. Because I am very into music, so I kind of like, as you can see, I've kind of like moving to the web audio side of things. But like last week when I was showing this API to someone else, he was like, oh, I really want to record, like he had a video and he had like he had a carb, so he could control the speed of the video. And he had record himself like skating, so it was like a really cool video. And he wanted to like slow it down, like, you know, like very impressive things. He wanted to record that thing, but it turns out that for some reason, the media recorder doesn't take into account the speed of the video. So we found a bug. So we need people to have weird new ideas that I would never think of because I don't skate. So I would never have an idea of playing myself with my skating things. We need more ideas to break it and make it better. So if you want to do these ideas, I'm happy. But if you want to do your ideas, I'm even happier. So possibly some people are still uncertain. Like, I need more examples. I have more examples. So we built this whole demo, again, with my colleague Belen, who's in Spain, in sunny Barcelona. So this is about a photo booth, like the iOS thing, but in the browser. So you have effects, and this is, I call it the C64, the Commodore 64. And this is pixelated. This is very easy as well. This one is the same one from before, but with WebGL, as you can see, it's like bigger. You can use the whole screen without slowing down. This one is creepy. And because I really like the aesthetics of this JS Conf. Well, we don't have the dots here, but I really like the aesthetics. So I tried to make a shader that would look this. So this was like, oh, this looks pretty nice, but it doesn't actually look like the JS Conf style. So I kept removing details, and I think this looks pretty much like that. So I was really pleased with this. And the cool thing is that you can actually record a clip. So this is using so I can record something, and it just counts down. There is then la 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 on the top. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a small progress bar, which is finishing now. And then you can download it. You can get a blob that you can open with VLC, because, you know, WebM, and whatever WebM thing is. OK, there we go. So this is the thing I just recorded. Let me close this, or we'll get to. So yeah, this is the thing that we just recorded in the browser. This is amazing. Seriously, have you ever done this thing? Like, I saw people trying to load what they were doing. They were trying to compile FFmpeg into JavaScript using mscripten and trying to load that thing in Chrome. And I tried it with a very powerful MacBook Pro, and it just like started taking off, and it didn't work. So if we can do this, I mean, this is a very ridiculously underpowered computer, and it doesn't even sweat it. So it's very, very great that we can do this. So this is very cool. There is also something that someone else built. He is not using WebGL. He's using a web worker. So he's doing all the processing on a canvas on the web worker. So what he does is, if this is, yeah. So he's got this video of the Cookie Monster. I just love him, with a green background. And he's got some cookies here. And obviously, what does the Cookie Monster like? Cookies. So when I play here, it's going to combine the two together and capture that into a video in which the Cookie Monster is got a very nice backdrop of cookies. So yum, 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 and it's got cookies in the background, which is amazing. And he's done that thing on the background with the web worker, so the UI is still responsive and everything. So that's cool things. I don't even know this person. I just found this thing on the internet. Where is my thing? There we go. So this is very cool, but there are always buts. And I was talking to Colin before. Like, I am very honest. When something is broken, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. Support is, Firefox supports everything I showed you. Sometimes it crashes, as you could see. There are weird things going on, but the problem is that this is touching many things. Like, there are so many machineries underneath that it's kind of normal that things break. Chrome 57, which happens to be Canary, if you're Canary today, maybe next week it's not anymore, supports pretty much everything, including streams from WebAudio, which it didn't support up until like 2 months ago. But things break sometimes. I filed the bug on Sunday that I found. I got the message that they fixed that today, which I'm very impressed. Hats off. I'm very impressed. But it was like a really bad crash, so it's good that they fixed that. But yeah, bugs. There are bugs. Safari. Internet Explorer, I don't think they will. I think they are scared of touching the code of Internet Explorer. But Edge said that they were under consideration, so that's good. I think also one of the editors of one of the specs is also from Microsoft, so it would make sense. In mobile, it's a bit, I don't think there is proper hardware accelerated encoding yet. And I have no idea about Windows Phone or BlackBerry. I saw one person with Windows Phone the other day. I was going to ask, like, how do you find it? But I thought it was a bit weird because I know this person. So, like, I would just refrain. I'm just so curious. I don't think Opera Mini is going to support it because, they strip everything out. So I don't think they're going to do this. And definitely not links. Links, for those that don't know, is a text browser. So unless they use one of those text libraries, I don't think they're going to use this. But who knows? There is always Linux people. So it's meh, but it's getting great very quickly. Like last year, this was a landmine. Seriously, whatever you did would crash or it would just not work. Like videos would not loop. Things would not record. You had to tell it to record with video and audio. If you just wanted to record video, it would not work. Things would not work at all. There was no documentation, but now it's so much better. So, but we still need people to find use cases that we never thought of. So use it, break it, file bugs. If you don't want to file bugs because you find bugs still less scary, just tell me and I'll do my best. And request features. Like sometimes people ask me for things which I don't find it useful, but when people ask things like, I would like to provide my own encoder, that makes sense, because maybe you have like a very strange, compressed kind of encoder that is not really provided by the browser, and maybe they shouldn't, but they should let you hook into your machinery. So there are features like that which I have transferred to the Media Recorder group, or I can tell you where to go because they use GitHub, so you can do it, and I don't get to be the bottleneck, so that's great. And there are more resources. Like I broke this blog post, which is pretty much this talk, but in like a more composed way. There is also a lot of examples that my colleague and me wrote, like a lot of examples looking at every single thing, like how do you get a canvas.captureStream, how do you use the media constructor thingy, how do you record the video. So it's got comments as well. Would you believe that? And also, no, I didn't want to click. Go back. It's there, but you don't see it. There is the video booth, and there is also the documentation that we finally have. The getUserMedia test patch is very interesting. It's put by the people that implement WebRTC. So it's a way of checking that you're using the right syntax, because that's the syntax that comes from the implementers. I sometimes blog about this thing as well. I still have a blog, and it's not in Medium. And the slides are here as well. I actually put them online. All the updated version is online, which I uploaded this morning. And so if you go there, you can use this. Please don't go with a mobile phone because it's not designed for mobile, and maybe just, it might not even work with Chrome because, it depends on the version. But I will tweet this, don't worry. And thanks, and that's it, actually. I can go now.